Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. Well, after a little bit of searching, no, rephrase that, a lot of searching, and a little bit of my famed dumb luck, we finally have a complete set for Refraktor. So we're going to take a good look and compare him to his G1 form as well. Now this is, of course, Siege Refraktor. And for those of you who are fans of the 1980s cartoon, he does have an appearance that is pretty close to how he appeared in the cartoon. But of course, he does have a rather colorful history from the toy line. As right here is part of the Reflector team, the one he obviously was designed after, Viewfinder. But of course, the Reflector team consists not only of Viewfinder, but of Spyglass, if he will stand up, and lastly as well, Spectro. Now, Refraktor here appeared in the Generation 1 cartoon from the very beginning in the More Than Meets the Eye miniseries as part of the Decepticon team, as he most memorably became a camera for Thundercracker to use to spy on the Autobots. However, shortly after being seen in that miniseries, Hasbro ordered Sunbow to reduce and in fact eliminate his appearances in the cartoon because at the moment they weren't selling this toy. It would be 2 years later in 1986 when Reflector would become available as a mail-away exclusive. He would be the last major mail-away of a totally unique Transformer, because many of them that were offered in the following year, in 1987, they were all basically leftover excess stock from 1984's toys. Unless you happen to live in a different part of the world, then you might have gotten some different stock, as we've covered in a few of my previous videos. But at any rate, now for the modern toy line, we now have a new version of these guys. However, as you can clearly see, Refraktor here looks nothing like these guys. However, I have seen that Hasbro's online toy store, Hasbro Pulse, will be selling a 3-pack of this toy here in October, but painted up and with added accessories to make them more resemble this toy. But due to popular fan demand, everybody wants to see this one. So, we won't wait until October. We'll go ahead and show this one off. Let's take a look at Siege Refraktor and take a look at his articulation. We can turn his head from side to side. The head's mounted on a hinge, so he can look upwards a bit. You can raise his arm out to the side like so at the shoulder, and rotate his arm at the shoulder all the way. He does have a hinge at the elbow, so it does allow you to bend his arm at the elbow about 90 degrees. A little bit further if he doesn't have his gun in hand. He also does have a swivel at the bicep, so he does have the famed G.I. Joe battle grip. There's a hinge at his waist, so you can turn him from the sides at his hips. You can spread his legs apart so far to do a full splits. He does have a hinge at his thighs, so you can turn his legs to the side. You can raise his legs up at the hip about 90 degrees, and he can bend at the knee about 90 degrees. And you can also bend his ankles. So all in all, Refraktor does have considerably better articulation from his Generation 1 toy, but that also comes from having nearly 40 years of engineering to redevelop the toy. Now, when you have only one Refraktor, what do you do with him? Nothing. Nah, I'm just messing with you folks. He does have an alternate mode if you just buy one. To start with that, first of all, we need to remove his weapon accessories. Then the next thing we do is we will turn his head around, like so, all the way around, and then you will fold it up down behind him. And now we'll turn him around. We're going to take his fists and we're going to fold them up inside his forearms. We'll shift the arms a bit so that we can turn his legs at the hip. Then now you're going to rotate the arms so that the fists are pointing outwards. Like that. And then now we're going to fold the arms up so they come onto his back. But we're also going to take this post here that's along the side of the arm, and they're going to connect into these holes here on his hips to lock them in place. Like so, just exactly like that. Then next we're going to lay him down for a second because we're going to remove this piece here on his chest and we're going to put it right here where his head was. Now we're going to spread his legs out a bit and we're going to fold these gray pieces out. Fold them out all the way like so, because we're going to rotate the legs at the thigh so that those gray pieces point downward. Then next, I'm going to fold his feet out. Then you're going to take his gun. You're going to connect it into the hole right here on the edge. Like that. And then we're going to combine the legs and the feet together. May take you a moment. Just be gentle with it. Alright, now once you've done that, we'll come up here. This clear piece on his chest, you're going to raise up. We're going to fold it down here over his legs. Then there's a piece inside it that you're going to fold out. And as you can see, there's a couple of little tabs here. They're going to go into these holes right here on the top of his legs. Just exactly like that. Then, of course, we're going to take his shield and we're going to connect it to the hole in his chest. And there you have his alternate mode. Refraktor has become a cannon emplacement. Instructions really don't go into any details on if he's any sort of special cannon. The only real downside to him in this mode is the fact that he is basically a forward-facing cannon. So he's not going to be able to reposition himself easily. However, the gun itself, since it's basically connected by two posts in holes, can be raised and lowered. But when you take it out of any position other than straight on, it just looks dumb. So, basically, we are better off leaving him just exactly like that. Before we move on, let's take a brief moment to look at Refraktor's loose pieces. Starting with his shield. The instructions refer to this as an HPR telefocal shield. Seeing as they give it a very high ratings in range and whatever the heart meter indicates. Obviously, it apparently can be used as a ranged weapon as well as a personal defense weapon. On the back side of it here, it does have a T-bar, so it can either be plugged into a shoulder or his wrists, or he can hold it in his hand. There's also a clear bit of plastic up here at the top, so it does limit how you can position it on him. And we also have this central piece, which the instructions label as a bioscale compression rotor. No statistics are given about it, so I guess they just wanted to call it something instead of chest piece. And then lastly, we have his gun, which the instructions refer to as an EMM distortion blaster, which is moderately strong, but apparently has very good range and firepower. In a very interesting shape, to say the least, but we'll get into that in a moment. And those are Refraktor's loose pieces. Now we get to the part that many of you are dying to know about. Since everybody knows Refraktor was the original Reflector, and those three robots could be combined to form a 35mm camera. Can the new one do that? Yes, the new one can do that, and his packaging even shows that he can be made into a camera. They also list that the biggest catch to it is that you need 3 of them. The only problem is, Hasbro, in their infinite wisdom, failed to include even instructions on how to do this. They don't even list a website where you could go to find instructions on how to do this. So while all of you sit there and enjoy along with me in cursing Hasbro for their infinite stupidity, I'm going to show you how to do it. Because I've been able to figure out how to do it, and we're going to do it here, right here on the channel for you. So pay close attention to the next few moments here. Thankfully, this is on YouTube, so if you want to follow along and you're having trouble, just back it up a few paces and keep up with us. Okay, to start, just like with before, remove the shield and the gun. We're going to turn his head all the way around and fold it into his back, just like we did earlier. And then next we'll turn him around and we're going to fold his fists into his arms, just like so. And we're also going to rotate him at the hips, like so. Now is when it gets different. You are going to take his arms and you're going to bend them at the elbow so they go up and rest against the arm, just like that. Now you'll take the arms at the shoulders, fold them onto his back, like so. And then you'll turn them here at the bicep so that the bent up arms are at his back, like this. For the legs, we're going to pull out the gray supports, but we're not going to fold them all the way over. We're just going to fold them so they're straight out like so. Then you rotate the leg 180 degrees at the thigh, like this. And then now you're going to take each leg, fold it up, and you're going to insert the arm into this empty space inside the leg. Do it one at a time because you may have to make minute adjustments to get the arm in. But it will fold over and fit the arm inside. Just exactly like that. And push the legs together once you've got it. And he should form a little box like this. Like I said earlier, the advantage of having this on YouTube, you can back it up and go through it again as you need to. And you repeat the process until you have all three of them in a box like that. Now, you're going to take the two that you have at the edge and turn them around like so. And then you will take the hole and the post here on the sides and connect them together like so. So that you will have all three of them snugly together like this. Now, in a moment, you're going to need one of these chest pieces. I recommend taking the one from the front. That way it will look the same all the way around. Or if you want, you can take the other two off, but that's not necessary. This will also keep you from losing them. Set the piece aside. And you gather up all their shields. And they all snap together. You got a hole on this side and post down here. And you got a bigger post here on the other side. You just arrange them together in a circular pattern. Preferably if you don't drop parts of them on the floor. That helps. Just press them together gently. You don't need to use excessive force. And there you have a telephoto lens. You got little posts that poke out here. You'll need to arrange it so a couple of them will attach to these grooves here on the chest. So you just attach the small ones. Again, excessive force is not necessary, so be gentle. And of course, one of the big posts will connect here at his hip. And there you have his camera mode. But we're not quite done yet. You will gather up all three of his guns. You'll notice here at the ammunition area, there's a slot on one side and a bit of a post on the opposite. So you will attach them all together like so. And you have a tripod. Now, these three posts here at the top will not fit onto the bottom of the toy, but their posts do line up with the holes in this chest piece. So you will mount that on the top of it to hold them together, and then this post that's sticking up there just so happens to line up with this central hole on the bottom of the toy. Ta-da! And there you have it, folks. One Cybertronian 35mm camera. Unfortunately, given his size, he's a little too big to be realistically stood next to any of your Transformers to make it look like they're actually using it, without it coming off as being very obvious that they're spying on him. But, if nothing else, it does make a rather interesting display piece. And it should give you something of a sense of accomplishment, especially if you've dropped all sorts of money to get to this point. Now, of course, for comparison's sake, let's bring in the original camera. And as you can tell, there is significant difference, especially with the fact that the Siege version has the tripod and is slightly bigger. But supposedly the one that Hasbro is about to put out here in October will have added accessories, so you will get something like a flash cube, and there'll probably be something where you can have the clicker here on the side. So you'll basically get an upgraded version of this into this. How well that's going to look, it's hard to say at this point, because I'm not sure if the pictures that they're showing is what the exact final product will be, or if they're still just the prototypes. But there you have it, my fans and viewers. You've now seen how to make Refraktor into the camera. So while we're at it, we'll get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Refraktor? I like the fact that they brought back a somewhat obscured figure back into the lineup again. Something that I've always been rather prideful of with the Siege line. They have been getting a few figures that are relatively obscure and bringing them back into the modern light, and giving us a new take on how their original forms would have been on Cybertron prior to their arrival here on Earth. However, I think Hasbro missed out on a decent opportunity with Refraktor here. Selling them individually is one thing. Doing a 3-pack like you're trying to encourage would have been a nicer and probably a smarter option. I mean, if nothing else, make the 3-pack an exclusive at one of the other stores. I mean, Target has the exclusives in the form of the Micromaster Battle Pack, which I will be reviewing sometime soon. And they also have the exclusive Rainmaker 3-pack. Again, another one I will be reviewing at some point in the future when I can spend the time on it. Walgreens apparently will have Ratchet as an exclusive, so why couldn't Walmart or something be given this as an exclusive to sell? But of course, next month we get the 3-pack being sold by Hasbro, but that's being more targeted to those of us that want one that look like that, not one that's going to look like this. So it's kind of a mixed bag in my eyes, folks. I like the gimmick. I think, though, it's a pain in the butt because, one, none of the stores are really putting out much stock in their toys, especially since we still don't have a Toys R Us or an equivalent in most places. So the stores don't have anybody to compete with them on their toys. Thus, they're not putting their toy stock out. I also think Hasbro themselves is trying to make this toy more difficult to acquire, as I bought my first Refraktor in mid to late July when the toy was first put out. And I have had to really hunt to get the other 3. I went to several stores before I found a second one about 2 or 3 weeks back, and then I finally got the last refractor by buying one at a toy show right after Labor Day. Happened to find one at a toy show, and there was only just the one. The dealer told me that about 5 people had looked at that single one. But I was the only one crazy enough to buy it. But of course, if I didn't buy it, I couldn't show you all this. So you may bask in my greatness. Nah, I'm just kidding with you folks. But anyway, truth be told, it is a pain to have to track down a refractor. So if this is one you really, really want, I would say hunt it down. Try to get yourself the best value you can for your money on it. But don't overpay to get him. He's not really worth the extra expense. It's a nice addition and a good throwback, but I don't really think he's worth a whole lot of money, and that you shouldn't be made to throw out a whole lot of money to get him. All in all, I'm going to put Refraktor down as a middle tier character. I like the improvements and the upgrades to the toy over the original. I also do like the fact that it is made to be cartoon accurate. So that's a nice bonus for anybody who really would have liked that from back in the day. It's a nice throwback, but I think Hasbro's intentionally jerking our chains on this toy, and that really affects it more on how it comes off. Anyway, that concludes my review of Refraktor and a brief comparison to Reflector. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you liked this video, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button down below and join up in our ranks. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you'll get notified when I post more content like Refraktor. Also, please consider sharing your thoughts about Refraktor or Reflector in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.